Now that you've seen the BIDS environment as a whole, in this lesson, we'll create your first package. This package will do very little at all. We'll talk about in this lesson how to use connection managers, how to use precedent constraints, and also the protection level property. To create a brand new package, right-click on SSIS Packages and select New SSIS Package. You can, on the Connection Managers area, see a list of connection managers. Connection managers are connections that can be used over and over again inside of a single package. For example, if I select New OLEDB Connection, I can create a new connection to any database I wish. For example, localhost, and into the AdventureWorks database. Click OK, and click OK again. I can now rename it to something more appropriate. If I rename the connection, anybody using that connection will also change to point at the new connection as well. I can also drag over a number of tasks from the toolbox into the design pane and link them together with precedence constraints. Precedence constraints control the workflow of the package. So as I connect these together, I'm basically saying script task will fire off, and if it successfully completes, script task 1 will fire off, then script task 2, serially. I can also right-click on this task, screen line, and change it to failure. Now the precedence constraint is saying, if this task successfully fails to complete, then fire off this guy. I could also make it a blue line, which will be a completion event. The completion event means whether it succeeds or fails, execute script task 2. Lastly, you can disable task. You can right-click on any task you want and click disable. Now in SSIS, if I change this back to a green line, what's going to happen in this incident is it will still execute script task 2. So it jumps over that task onto the next pane. Additionally, I can drag another script task over and have multiple connections into a single task. And let me enable this again. And now you can see that multiple tasks here going into a single task. This is saying that script task 3 and script task had to successfully complete for script task 1 to fail, or to succeed, to start. So if I execute this now, you'll see both of these fire off in parallel, and if they both succeed, script task 1 and then script task 2 will execute. If you want to change that AND behavior to an OR behavior, in other words, this or this task start, then you could double click on that green line and change it to a logical OR and click OK. Notice now it turns into a dotted line. So let's try it out. The next piece is the protection level property. If I go down to this area right in the very bottom of my package properties, one such property is the protection level property. Notice that all a package is XML behind the scenes. So I can right click and say view code and see that all it is just this big chunks of XML, including all my information about connections, passwords, all that stuff is stored inside that XML. To get around that, what Microsoft does from a security mechanism is they encrypt all the sensitive data with my user key. My user key equates to my machine name and my user credentials. That's why it's locking down this data from information. I can also encrypt it with a password instead. This will protect all the sensitive passwords inside my package with a password instead. So if a sensitive data has instances inside that package, it will prompt the user for a package password. You can also select Encrypt All with Password, which will not let anybody open up the package unless they have the password. If you're using Windows authentication, this encrypt sensitive user key should be fine. But if you're using SQL authentication or anything inside that package has a password inside of it, I would recommend that you do encrypt sensitive with password or encrypt all with password, one of those two. If you do it, select encrypt all with password, for example, you would type your password by hitting the ellipsis button and type your new password here. Now, when I close this package, save it, and open it up again, I'll be prompted for a password. Now that you've seen how to create your first package, let's create one now for yourself. Create a brand new package called Lesson6.dtsx and connect two script tasks together. This package will do very little at all. It's just designed to give you some experience with creating tasks and packages. You'll also want to create a connection manager to the AdventureWorks 2008 database and set the password to encrypt all with password, the protection level property to encrypt all with password, and type any password you like. To do this, right-click on SSIS packages and select New SSIS Package. Once it creates, make sure it's not selected, right-click on it, and type in Lesson6.dtsx. Oh, as you can see, it already exists, so we'll ignore that in my case. But this package will be called Lesson6.dtsx. When you're prompted, for example, if I rename this to anything, it will ask you if you want to rename the package object as well. Always say yes to that question. Next, we'll create a connection manager to the AdventureWorks 2008 database by right-clicking down here, selecting New OLEDB connection, and point to your AdventureWorks 2008 database. You may also have to hit the New button here, type in localhost, and point to the AdventureWorks 2008 database. Hit OK twice. Next, drag two script tasks over, or double-click on the script task. And I'm not going to choose to rename these just for time's sake here, but drag the green line over to this one. You can then right-click on it and rename it to whatever you like. To set the password property, all the way down the drop-down box here, for the package properties, make sure you're looking at the package, not the script task like I just did there. Set the encrypt all with password, and type in the new password here. Whatever you like. Hit OK. Execute the package, and you should see green right here. If you see any kind of red, go to your progress page to debug that error. In this demo, you saw how to use connection managers and how to create your first package. We connected them with precedence constraints. And we also set the protection level property to encrypt the package. In our next lesson, we'll learn much more about precedence constraints, when to use which ones, and we'll also get into the various tasks.